Hello, London here again to talk about the final song. No! The final song on the Raison EP again. And it's called SLEWOV. Interesting, where did I find the word SLEWOV? It's vowels backwards. So when I initially started kind of writing this song, I was, the working title of the track was called Synth Dabbling, because I was just dabbling with synths and trying to figure out how they worked and stuff. I started just singing like ahs and oohs and ohs and all kinds of stuff. And, I just had the thought, I was like, you know what? What's vowels backwards? Just as a fun little thought. And it was SLEWOV. And I was like, I wonder if that means anything. Sure enough, I look it up and it means the sudden change of direction, which I was like, huh? You just make vowels backwards and it means something really cool. So it was kind of an accident how that happened. I had never heard the word SLEWOV before, but that's how I found it. I was vowels backwards, and then I looked it up, and sure enough, it actually means something. And I think it's in like Celtic. It's like a Celtic word. Either way, I'm ginger enough where I can get away with it. All right. But the song is it's talking about the idea of SLEWOV. The lyrics, they're pretty straightforward. The lyrics kind of explain what I'm talking about in this one. Suddenly things change. Learn to be brave. You'll never be the same if you learn to be brave again. This is coming out of Learn to Love Again. When I finished writing Learn to Love Again, I was like, what does it take to, I mean, yeah, time can do it, but giving things time, you have to be brave as well. You can't just give it time. That's easy to say, but more practically is you have to be brave. And so I wanted to pick up where Learn to Love Again kind of left off and impart another thing, which is you got to learn to be brave. In order to give something time, you have to be brave. So there's steps to this, but it's just kind of talking about some of my self-loathing. I probably hate me more than anybody out there. That may or may not be true. There's probably people that really actually hate me, which is wild. I don't know. I get it. I feel like I can be annoying or come across a certain way. Don't ask me why. I think everybody kind of feels that way about themselves, but I'm talking a lot about how I sympathize with my own demise. I am so low. Yeah, I sympathize with people who want to see me fail, because I hate me too. I say that expression a lot. I hate me too. And it's completely unjustified because I do love myself. I do. And it's taken time to realize that, I'm not this POS that people might perceive me out there. I'm really not. And fighting that idea of finding my worth is a struggle that I've had for, a long time. And I don't think that's a particularly unique struggle. I think a lot of people kind of struggle with that, and that's why I wanted to capture it in this song, being essentially as transparent as I possibly can. I supply my vice and plight. For a while, I've been smoking cigarettes, and that's literally what I mean by I supply my vice. And this is not good because I'm a vocalist, and it's something that I've been getting better about. I don't smoke as much as I used to, but it's still a vice that I supply. And I'm not proud of it. It's not healthy, and but it's a vice. And honestly, it is better than alternatives. I've done a lot worse. I deny myself what's right. That's still a similar concept. And again, I've said this in a lot of the previous songs. This is talking from more of a retrospective. It's not so much how I feel now or am now. But I deny myself what's right I was very much talking about who I was, and that party lifestyle that we kind of talked about in Worn Out, So Young, Slow Down. And there's a whole story being told here. So all of the other EP is very just subject to subject. This one's more of a story. Yeah, so I'm in that very low place, and then SLEWOV. All of a sudden there's a change in direction. I'm very proud with how lyrically and musically they coincide together. There's sudden changes of direction, either genre there's several different genres in this song, which I think is really cool. And I think that incorporates into the idea of suddenly something changing. I wanted the music to genre change throughout. It starts very poppy. It's very pop off the rip. And then it goes into more rock metal and then some hip hop in there. So that I wanted thematically to play off of the idea of suddenly something changing for SLEWOV. I go on to kind of open up about what helped me get on a better track. Because I was going, here was my life of like, here I was born, and then here's my life, you know, being raised, and then I hit my kind of like late teens, like 20s, hard dive of just making stupid decisions, doing all kinds of stupid stuff, partying all the time. I talked a lot about that in Worn Out, So Young, Slowed Out. And then once I hit kind of like my rock bottom, I think it was after my mom, I think it was between one of my mom's divorces. Because I'll say this right now, I've never met my father, and I've tried to muster up the, I guess, courage. I don't know if it's courage or if it's just desire to want to talk to him, but I've never met him. And my mom's been through a couple of marriages since. I was actually the youngest of 3 with my first stepfather, and then they had a divorce when I was about 8 or 9 or so, 10 years old. And then my mom got remarried when I was 12, 13 or so, I want to say. And I was the oldest of 4. So I went from being the youngest, I went from being an only child to being the youngest of 3 to being the oldest of 4. Yeah. So I've kind of had all of of what it's like to be raised. I've had to, it matured me a lot. Which might be one of the reasonings why I got into substance abuse so much, is because like the world was moving so fast that it's nice to slow it down or distract my head, distract my mind, because I just kind of had to mature really fast, in different ways. So I've experienced what it's like to be an only child, the youngest and the oldest. So yeah, it's a lot, but, SLEWOV, back more specifically to SLEWOV, once it was going down, the only thing that started to bring it right back up was the moment that I actually was saved, and started a relationship with Christ. It was, I really started to see life through a different lens, and it helps give me a father figure when I didn't have one. I had my grandfather most of my life. He was very soft-spoken, sweet man, but we didn't talk much, so he wasn't much of a father in that sense. So when kind of in something that I'll never do, when I talked about that, my grandfather died, and that's why I kind of acted spiteful and started stealing booze and smoking a cigarette in the house, is because I was angry, because that was like the last father figure that I had, and he died. So yeah, back to SLEWOV, right? Back to SLEWOV. We're talking about SLEWOV. But yeah, that sudden change of direction of like, I'm just going down, 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 and then all of a sudden just started to go back up again. And it's that idea of once I started that relationship and actually having a guide, a father figure, because I think that is important. I know it's important because I've had the lack of it. And the interesting thing is, like, I've had multiple father figures, and I think back on Raison EP1, I kind of talk about that idea of father figures in my life. But having that again kind of brought me back up and more level-headed and not as crazy. I still went on to make stupid mistakes and struggled with vices and stuff even since then. But instead of just continually going down, it gave me a reason again. It gave me a reason. I don't know. I unaware, I am alone. Needless to say, I'm never bored. I think what I'm actually saying there is, and commas are important in this. If I'm unaware, I am alone. And it's that idea of like, if I'm unaware of this truth, I'm alone. I'm alone. We're all alone apart from the kinship that Christ brings. And yeah, if atheism is true, we're all alone ultimately. So that was a big reason why I became so curious in religion in general. That was a leading factor of just not wanting to be alone. But even if I am alone, I'm never bored. And I like that lyric because like my entire life I don't think I've ever been bored, other than maybe when I was like a very young teen, like in high school or like in class. There are moments like in class when like, of course, like everyone gets bored like that, but in my own time, I'm never bored. I'm always finding something to do, and maybe that's a perk of having ADD or ADHD, whatever it is that I have. I was told I had ADD growing up, and I was on Concerta for years. And I don't know, I've never been bored. So that's what that line means. And I think that's actually a cool thing about me. And I think that's why I've always been able to make friends easily with people, because I'm never bored. I'm always like doing something or finding something to do, which is enticing for people. I go on to say, aware that I am who I'm meant to believe, says the mind that's by design. And what I'm saying there is, I'm aware that people say, essentially, that I am who I am meant to believe, but that's coming from a mind that's by design. And I think that's a beautiful line, and it's interesting, and it's an interesting concept to think about. And it doesn't make sense if you don't believe what I believe, but if you do believe what I believe, then that's a relatable line, right? It's good. It's a good line. And it's a thought-provoking line as well, because that is how I think about it. The mind is by design. We don't surprise the big man upstairs. So it's interesting. Yeah. And then I kind of go into like the screaming, angry part of the song where it becomes more metally and then sort of hip-hoppy in the cadence. And I'm just talking about the idea of water and what it's like to tell my story and confess to everybody what I believe and why I believe, and how it can feel sometimes doing that. It's like I feel like water in an endless heat. Like I know this isn't going to resonate with a lot of people, and a lot of people aren't going to want to listen to this because, you know, they have their own beliefs. They don't believe what I believe, and I'll probably get some hate for it. And it's a shame because what I believe is so misconstrued by culture, so negatively thought about these days, and it's just sad. It's just sad that people could like me less because I believe something that gives me even more bliss. The idea of that is actually insane to me, and that helps convince me that there is pure evil in this world. So if you think less of me because of what I believe, that's shame on you. That's just shame on you. Shame on the enemy that you're just believing. But I'll go on to talk about what it's like to be water in an unbelievable heat. You start to evaporate and you start to be worn thin. You might even die. I might even die, or I will die at some point. I'll have a new journey in the sky. So that's kind of the idea of like, it's not just up to the water. The soil needs to be fertile, and that's not up to me. All I can be is water. I can't control the weather. I can't control the soil. I can't control the seed. I am the water in that regard. In this metaphor at least. So it's I'm talking very much in metaphor there about what it's like to tell my story and share what I believe with others, because a lot of the times I just get made fun of. If anyone feels alone in that sentiment and finds it hard to talk about what you believe, I believe Christ is true, and there's so much evidence for it too. So don't call me crazy. If you want to talk about it, hit me up. But this is not just an emotional thing of wanting to believe it. There's actually significant evidence for the Bible, and we can talk about all kinds of stuff. Just hit me up about it if you want to talk about it. But yeah, this is a long talk about the longest song on the album. I'll leave it there. We're coming up on almost 20 minutes. Thank you for hearing me out about this. If you wanna talk to me more about it, I'm always live on Twitch. You can come and talk to me about whatever, whenever. It might not always be the exact time, but it never hurts to, ask questions or whatever. You can always go into my Discord, DM me on Discord, or DM me here on YouTube. Does YouTube have DMs? I don't even know. Either way, thank you guys so much for hearing me out. Love you all very much. In my own non-weird way, love transcends. It's not parasocial. I do love you guys, but I'm gonna get out of here. Rambling. Love you guys. SLEWOV. Bye.